why I have come to accept the idea that a gold standard is the only standard that can be used if you want a free market and you want a sound, healthy economy. No other power greater than the power over money, the power to create and contract the money supply, the power to control the purchasing power of your money. Throughout history, this has proven to be the most sought-after monopolistic power of man. You will see the consequence of the inflation that we have today. In a couple years, you will see the recession, if not the depression of '86 or '87.
Yesterday's volatile reaction of the stock markets need not be, indeed must not be, a signal to panic.
Subjects, so we let people in a free society make their decisions on what's best for their body. Ask me why we still finance the communists. Ask me why 70% of the military budget is spent overseas. I would say clean out the State Department, spend more money on our national defense, have an anti-communist policy. Want to put the drug dealer out of business overnight? Legalize drugs. There's no drug dealer.
Of your type of demented thinking.
We get high on the ideas of freedom.
Like you in the White House, I puke on you.
If the American people ever allow the banks to control the issuance of their currency, first by inflation and then by deflation, the banks and corporations that will grow up around them will deprive the people of all property until their children will wake up homeless on the continent their fathers occupy.
Today, the price has gone up, the quality has gone down, the distribution has been eliminated. There are more people without health care now since the government's been in the business.
Okay, but what if the Soviets started sending the money if we didn't send the money?
And the Soviet system would fall even more rapidly. They can't even feed themselves. We're financing the Soviet system too. But I think it would be helpful to bankrupt the Soviet Union if they want to spend all their money, because they couldn't win in Afghanistan and they're broke, and now they're getting more loans from the Soviets.
But they could put up
The Ukraine is by no means alone. The Baltic states, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia have now all declared their independence as well. And today in Moscow, Boris Yeltsin, president of Russia, who'd already acknowledged the independence of Lithuania, recognized Latvia and Estonia as well.
The big corporations are going to get back in and exploit the Soviet workers if Yeltsin and Gorbachev have their way.
I mean, we're running up $240 billion deficits per year. That's how fast the national debt is increasing. So the young people, there aren't enough young people to pay for this type of government. So the type of government we have today is coming to an end.
I think what we need to do is convince people who live in the lands they live in to build the nations. Maybe I'm missing something here. I mean, we're going to have kind of a nation-building corps from America? Absolutely not. Our military is meant to fight and win war. That's what it's meant to do. And when it gets overextended, morale drops.
We have for months now heard plenty of false arithmetic and lame excuses on why we must pursue a preemptive war of aggression against an impotent nation 6,000 miles from our shores that doesn't even possess a Navy or Air Force, with a pretense that it must be done for national security interests.
Call it the incredibly shrinking dollar. The dollar falling again against the euro today after that weak new home sales number.
When you inflate the currency or destroy a currency, the middle class gets wiped out. So the people who get to use the money first, which is created by the Federal Reserve System, benefit. So the money gravitates to the banks and to Wall Street. So that's why you have more billionaires than ever before.
You're basically saying that we should take our marching orders from Al-Qaeda. If they want us off the Arabian Peninsula, we should leave.
We should take our marching orders from our Constitution. We should not go to war. We
We should not go to war without a declaration. We should not go to war when it's an aggressive war. This is an aggressive invasion. We've committed the invasion of this war. Why don't we just open up the Constitution and read it? You're not allowed to go to war without a declaration of war. This is just war propaganda, continued war propaganda, preparing this nation to go to war and spread this war not only in Iraq but into Iran unconstitutionally. It is a road to disaster for us as a nation. It started, the neoconservatives promoted this war many, many years before it was started. Had nothing to do with Al-Qaeda. There was no Al-Qaeda in Iraq. There were no weapons of mass destruction. Just think of the weapons the Soviets had in the 60s and the 70s, and we did not have to go to nuclear war with them. There's no reason to go to war against these third world nations. Are the same ones who said as soon as we go in, it will just be duck soup. It'll be over in 3 months. It won't cost us anything because the oil will pay for it.
Now, you have been, I think, spot on in saying that the Federal Reserve created the stock bubble with low margin rates, and it created the housing bubble with low mortgage rates. Yet I never hear about anyone talking about investigating the Fed in Congress. It's a creature of Congress. Why don't we do it?
You know, the 70s were horrible because we paid for the guns and butters of the 60s. Now we're doing the same thing, and nobody even seems to care. The dollar is crashing, and you're talking about these technicalities about who said what, when.
To say that you would eliminate the IRS, the CIA, the Federal Reserve, the Department of Homeland Security, Medicare.
But how can you do this and pursue this, the policy you have, without further weakening the dollar? There's a dollar crisis out there, and people's money is being stolen. People who have saved, they're being robbed. I mean, if you have a devaluation of the dollar at 10%, people have been robbed of 10%. But how can you pursue this policy without addressing the subject that somebody's losing their wealth because of a weaker dollar, and it's going to lead to higher interest rates and a weaker economy?
I have days growing more frequently all the time when I'm convinced the time is now upon us that some big events are about to occur. These fast approaching events will not go unnoticed. They will affect all of us. They will not be limited to just some areas of our country. The world economy and political system will share the chaos about to be unleashed.
Why is it that people are turning on to YouTube to see you talk about something and everybody else thinks is too boring?
Because they're waking up, because they know there's a lot of inflation, people's standard of living is going down. An opportunity. This should not be a point where you say, well, we can't do anything about it. We should see this as only the beginning.